the new Black Rifle coffee drama? It's crazy to think all this time I could have been giving my money to a company the internet says doesn't support 2A values. Craziness.
What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers, and welcome back to another installment of Cursed Gun Images. You guys seem to really like finding just the most heinous gun images from all over the internet and sending them to me, and then I talk about them. It's an easy formula. You see how this works? Now, normally you guys have to lurk through the dark corners of the internet or your local gun show to find this stuff, but not this first entry. I've seen this first one posted everywhere, and especially after the latest development, we had to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Glock 19. This is an interesting gun made by Culper Precision. It is clearly a Glock 19 dressed up to look like a Lego, and might I say they actually did a pretty damn good job at that. Like, when you look into what they had to do to the slide as far as the engraving and everything on that to make those little Lego blocks, that's pretty impressive. Partner that with a frame texture, I'd say job well done. And of course, the fiber optic sights appear to be Lego Star Wars lightsabers. This is a pretty fun little novelty, and it's just a very obvious joke for the internet. That didn't stop Karens from around the country from shitting their collective britches. Somehow they thought that this is maybe a new product made for actual children, or they would just find these laying on the playground one day. I have no idea, honestly, why they were upset. But they caused so much of a shit fit that Glock actually released this statement. The long and short of it is that they were basically saying that they have nothing to do with Culper Precision, and they do not endorse or design a pistol that looks like a toy. So, a little perspective here. This is much weirder when you look at it from the perspective that Glock went so much harder in distancing themselves from Culper Precision over an obvious one-off joke gun than they ever have in the past over things like actual mass shootings involving a Glock. They also dropped this beautiful little snippet here. A Glock does not endorse the customization of its pistols. That's odd. Pretty weird. The pistol with probably the biggest aftermarket in the world, maybe next to the 1911, does not endorse customization of its product. Okay. Now moving on, this next one is for all you flute enthusiasts out there. I'm not talking about the skin flute. Yes, this is a flute that appears to also be a 22 bolt action rifle. I don't think this is actually a flute. I would love to know the story on why this exists though, when you've got band practice at 5 but a shooting tournament at 6. I'm assuming this was confiscated by police given the trousers of the gentleman holding it as well as his Batman utility belt. If you think about it, this is literally a fluted barrel. Probably not a good idea to disguise a weapon as a flute, come to think of it. If I was in downtown Chicago, I would probably be a little bit more weirded out by a guy walking down the road carrying a flute than a guy carrying a rifle. Next up is probably, and I don't say this lightly, one of the worst AK builds I have ever seen in my life. But first, a word from our sponsor. That sponsor, of course, is Manscaped.com. Now, if you're a subscriber to the channel, I know you've heard about Manscaped before, but they've just released their Lawnmower 4.0. It is a waterproof electric trimmer that you now get when you purchase the Performance Package 4.0 bundle. It's an all-in-one kit that includes anything you need for your personal grooming regimen. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has these replaceable ceramic blades with skin-safe technology. It means they can keep you looking good in the bedroom and not in the ER. The kit also comes with anti-chafing ball deodorant and crop reviver. You and I both know there's quite a few of you out here who need this desperately. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, truly making it a full performance package. Giggity. And for a limited time, you get not one but 2 free gifts, including this cool travel bag and a set of anti-chafing boxer briefs. So what are you waiting for? Go down to the links in the description and in the pinned comment. You can get free international shipping, 20% off, and the 2 free gifts, and all you have to do is use the code. Yep, just use the code Herrera20 at checkout, and all this could be yours. Your balls and body will thank you. So an AK receiver, specifically the AKM, is a piece of stamped sheet metal. But the functional parts of that are actually riveted on, such as the front trunnion that holds the barrel and the locking lugs, and the rear trunnion, which stops the bolt carrier and houses the return spring. The reason it's riveted together is to allow the gun to flex, but still hold it firmly in place. It can be a complicated process for new builders, especially the dimpling process to make sure you have, good contact and everything like that. So what do you do if you can't figure that out? Just glob some fucking welds on there. And why stop there? Trigger pins can be a bitch too. They're always falling out because you incorrectly installed the, shepherd's hook. It's just weld those bitches in place too. Why do they need to move? Hope you literally never have to take out your fire control group. Want to install an aftermarket trigger? I hope you have a grinder. The other side is just as bad, if not a little bit worse. But so far, this is just a really shitty AK build. What makes this actually cursed? Well, that's because judging by the trunnion, this kit is an original Russian Tula kit. Cream of the crop, AKM. Very sought after, very rare. In good shape, the parts kits alone for these can go over $2,000. But why hire somebody who actually knows what they're doing to build your gun when you could just glob some weld on it? And let's not even talk about the fact that his dust cover is like half an inch short and is not even trying to be locked into place. Hopefully this is only an original Tula front trunnion and the rest of the kit is just mix and match. Because those handguards are Hungarian handguards. They don't belong on the kit. American tactical receiver. I'm hoping the trunnion was the only really, really good piece that was ruined here. But it is for all those reasons, and especially the fact that this was a Tula, that's heinous. Please, just for the love of God, if you don't know what you're doing, just take a breather. It's okay to ask someone. And if you're taking a nice kit to a gunsmith to build, make sure you see some samples of his work first. Now, a lot of you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of most bullpups. I just don't like him. So then people counter, Brandon, well, the Barrett is a bullpup because, the back of the receiver is the stock. And if you do the AK-50 like that, technically that's a bullpup. No. Having the back of the receiver where you press your shoulder into the gun does not a bullpup make. It's missing the critical component of most bullpups, which is the fact that the trigger and pistol grip is in front of the magazine, which is why this is not a bullpupped Barrett. However, this is. Yeah. Feast your eyes on that bad boy. Now I see this picture and variants of this showing up a lot on the Cursed Gun forums and submissions and things like that. Okay, I'll give you that. It's pretty fucking ugly. But I'm not sure this is actually a cursed gun either. This was an actual thing that was done by Barrett. In fact, I'm pretty sure the guy in the photo holding the gun might be Ronnie Barrett himself. This is a variant of the Barrett M82, I believe designated the Barrett M82A2. I believe the thinking on this is to, one, make the gun shorter as far as like the amount of weight further out on the person, and also make this shoulderable by the average person, as far as like being able to stand and fire it, or kneel and fire it, which God knows why you would ever be doing that in a normal situation, but I mean, shit, okay. Other than just for fun, because obviously. The only thing I would absolutely hate about this is having your head right next to the explosion and the cycling of a semi-auto 50 cal. That sounds a little scary, but other than that, I'd only say moderately cursed. I still probably own one. So this next one was actually sent to me by its creator. Behold, the Ar Val, or the Stoner VSS, whichever you prefer. It looks like he's designed and printed up a bunch of 3D printed components to make his AR-15 resemble a VSS Vintorez, the cousin of the AS Val. Might I say, this is a terrible idea, but really well executed. The only thing that I think would make this passable is if he's using one of those 9x39 uppers. I think that would actually be pretty cool, because there's some 9x39 AR uppers floating around there. So if you make it in the original caliber, okay, you get a little bit of a pass, I think. So what in the hell is going on with this handgun? Well, I'm glad you asked, hypothetical viewer. This is a prototype of a suppressed revolver. You see, the gap between the barrel and the cylinder on most revolvers makes it very problematic if you're trying to suppress it, because you're getting all that gas blowing out. Just makes it really shitty to try to suppress a revolver. But not to fear. See, in the 90s, a German gunsmith had an idea and prototyped a suppressible revolver, and it looks like this. And apparently nobody had the heart to tell him that the Russians basically figured this out about 100 years prior with the Nagant revolver. Also because of the design of the cylinder and the cartridge of the gun, you can actually suppress that. Whoops. But not to worry, sir, your effort did not go unnoticed. It made it far enough along to be included in a Cursed Gun Images 30 years in the future. All right, now we're getting a little bit more cursed. This is a chopped down, pretty rare World War II submachine gun, at least here in the States. Clearly not in Pakistan. Submachine gun, of course, being the PPSH-41. As we've covered in Cursed Gun Images in the past, there's a lot of weird Khyber PPSH-41s. Here in the States, a good PPSH-41 in good shape is pretty damn rare, but apparently that is not the case over there. So with that in mind, Ali Baba strikes again. I will admit this one looks a little bit more clean. I kind of like, nope, I'm not allowed to like this. The only reason I'm not allowed to like this is because I'm pretty sure this is actually a historic piece. So of course they hacked off the stock and included what looks like maybe an aluminum adapter or something for a side folder. That's interesting touch. Added a pistol grip up front, and they cut the shroud and moved everything back. So they cut the barrel, cut the shroud, and made what would already be an SBR and S shorter barreled rifle, SBR. Still an SBR, that doesn't work. But speaking of Khyber Pass, that brings us to our next entry, which definitely looks like it would come from there. So here we have it, the evolution from the AK to the Thompson. Yes, it appears this AK was bitten by a radioactive Thompson and has slowly been undergoing a transformation. And I'm not even gonna lie, that last one looks pretty dope. So the Thompson, of course, being the Chicago typewriter, Baltimore Photo, St. Petersburg typewriter. I actually think that is really cool, and I kind of want to build one now. All right, you know what? Fuck it. I'm clearly a man of my word on these things. If this video gets 200,000 likes, why not? Shoot for the moon. I'll tell you what, we'll build one of these. I don't know if it should be in 7.62 by 25 or 45 ACP. I can't tell which one's more legit. The Thompson, of course, is originally in 45, but something about this screams 7.62 Tokarev. Leave your thoughts down below. Should we go full America or return to Kalashnikov? But speaking of cobbled together AK submachine guns, buckle up. I forget where I even found this. I think this one was a submission. This is a 9mm AK. I guess because this is, I don't know. I don't know. The bit jazzes are pretty cool. We don't really have to do stuff like this anymore. It's definitely a very unique looking Franken gun. So you get the trunnion, which appears to be borrowed from like an RPK, something with a bulged front trunnion, but cut away. Crazy looking muzzle brake. And that barrel shroud, I think, is borrowed from like a DPM or a DP-28. The old Russian light machine guns. At least that's what it looks like. There's a lot going on. And of course, there's an ALG trigger in it because, you know, you went through this much effort, it might as well shoot good. Okay, so what in the fucking video game gun is this? And more importantly, who is the 80s serial killer shooting it? Frankly, this doesn't even look like a real gun. This looks like something from an old prop house for a shitty sci-fi movie back in the late 90s, or, you know, maybe from the Sci-Fi Channel, if anybody remembers that. Not the current one, back when they used to do a bunch of shitty B movies that looked like they used guns like this. I'm getting wildly off topic. But as crazy as this gun looks, it's actually something a little familiar. This is one of the original prototypes for the FN P90. And yes, that P90. Yes, before the P90 was frankly as sexy looking as it is today, it looked like this. It's one of the kind of cool parts of weapon prototyping, is but before you really care about aesthetics, you just try to nail down the function of the gun. Make sure it's something that even works in the first place. Sounds very familiar. But the cool part of that is you get all these weird off-the-wall prototypes of guns that you know today that did not look like that when they were first prototyped. P90 only being one of many examples of this. So that's my challenge to you. Actually, if you'd like to see another episode of Cursed Gun Images, or maybe an entirely different video, just on the original prototypes of a lot of these modern guns that you and I, are intimately familiar with now, that had some pretty serious glow-up stories, go ahead and find a bunch of those and go ahead and submit them. Because yeah, I just think prototypes are neat. But anyhow, guys, I think that wraps up this episode of Cursed Gun Images. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I actually had a little bit of fun this episode too, so step up your game. Let's make sure I don't next time around. We got some cool videos coming out. We've got some guns that we've been working on. I've been picking up a lot more for my collection that we're going to be doing videos on very soon, actually. So if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. And as always, I'll see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon, like Rasputin's rise to the top.
Leave your comments down below. Fuck. That was a rambling sentence. I don't think that made sense. Did that? I'm pretty sure I just had a fucking stroke in the middle of that sentence. I forgot how I started it.
Just went on autopilot all of a sudden.
I did. I really did. Like I forgot how I started the sentence, and I'm like, I forget if I set up the prompt for this, but what the hell?